Library, I'm afraid I haven't contacted Kelly at all.
Well, it's all right.
But that's
If they need you, they should have contacted you. All right, so I think we can get started. Tonight is Tuesday, January 6th. This is the, I guess, open season, right?
Yes.
Opening day of the budget season. And so we are all here. Thank you all at home for joining. We do have a quorum. Want to take time out first to acknowledge two new members. Ted Kirchner, thank you very much for joining. Joe Meyerson, thank you as well for joining. Let's hope we still see you by May on here. And
So never down.
all right, well, that's good. So first order of business is just taking a look at the calendar here. So the game plan is we're going to be here every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock. And so what we have on tap for this evening is animal control will be coming in, the town clerk, economic development committee, MIS, the town accountant, library trustees, and then we'll close up business with any advisory business at the tail. Continuing on, so you can see that again, every Tuesday we've got things laid out. Obviously, things may change depending upon if suddenly, there's a snowstorm or a certain group is not able to make it, and we've built in, as noted on the following pages, you notice as by the time we get to March, for the most part, we have gone through all the necessary departments. However, believe it or not, it does go fast. It doesn't seem as though we were wondering what we would do or cancel a meeting.
No, well, some people came back in.
Exactly.
So
we would bring other people back in.
And some of the capital stuff, there was a lot of, with the fire truck and stuff last year, we had to revisit a lot of.
That's right, yeah. So we've got a decent amount of time built in to account for bringing other groups back in, capital items, things of that nature, and then really just preparing for the annual town meeting. So.
Can I throw one more in there?
Yeah.
School, we probably
Exactly.
want to schedule with the school committee reps. I'm looking at their budget workshop is the 7th, so would it behoove us to have a discussion with them before they vote, which is, it looks like potentially on March 11th, somewhere in February, towards the end of February maybe, if they get a chance to.
No, it's a good point. So it looks as though Tuesday, February 24th, we're up for some opportunity there,
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah, because it's just on so far.
Yeah, so,
Oh, so Donna too, I'm wondering if, I know her budget is scheduled for the 24th, but I'm wondering if we might ask her to come in a little bit earlier would she be the main person to talk to with maybe Dawn and Julie about OPEB stuff?
yeah, I mean, I would think she might be a contributing participant there.
So maybe have that whole group in, or at least try to, figure out, I feel like that could potentially be a big number, so I would like to know sooner than later what they're thinking there. There's a committee formed too.
Yeah, there is, exactly. So OPEB is the
post-employment benefits.
Yeah, the retirement plan for the municipal employees. So there is a committee that has been formed, and they're meeting, and Don mentioned to me that he was as they start putting some stuff together, he would forward along to me.
Okay.
But you're right. I mean, we should entertain bringing them in, and yeah, I think we may have to revisit the batting order, because bringing in Donna early on.
I know she's waiting for certain numbers come in, and I guess that's why they pushed her out to the 24th, but, I don't know.
Yep. And do you have the Saturday workshop? Is that what day is that, Sasha?
February 7th.
2/7. All right. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Linda to post us as a meeting for that day, just in the event that I do plan to attend.
And I wish I could attend.
And I know.
Thank you.
Just
in case.
Just in
So
case.
if you guys show up and Connie shows up, that'd be a quorum, and
Sure.
so it should be posted.
Yeah. So I will make sure.
So that's going to be on February 7th, did you say?
Exactly. Yep. And,
I encourage you to go. It's quite an education.
it really is. Yeah. We'll leave it with that.
So that's it for me on the schedule.
All right. All right. Yeah. No one else is here.
15.
I know. Do you guys have any initial questions as we look at the calendar?
No, I have a question, and it just may mean that I'm going to have to recuse myself from one of the largest departments. But I am a Main Street resident, and I am extremely interested in and will be going to the meeting on Thursday. If not to speak, to certainly voice my opposition to the planned state takeover of Route 117 downtown. Now, we still don't know how much that might save the town, but if it is a conflict between my responsibilities as advisory committee, which is basically to deal with keeping our tax rate down and keeping control of the budget, then I would have to recuse myself from that particular department. So I don't know whether that's going to be necessary, but I just wanted to let you folks know.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Thank you, because I think.
We all come to the table with opinions on
Right, okay, because I have very strong opinions about that.
Yeah.
And it's not strictly based on dollars and cents, it's based on how difficult it is to live down here now. And if we lose any land and they start turning this into a Route 20, I don't know.
Good.
But how would that affect you? Where do you see that coming into play with like a conflict of interest?
Well, the only thing is that Brownie and Don are both very keen on this, and one of their main reasons is because they believe it will save the town money. And it probably will, in terms of the state will take over the maintenance and the plowing for Route 117 from 495 all the way to the Lancaster line. And I just don't know if that's a conflict. I mean, I do feel that the town...
We have the conflict of interest person right here, right?
I don't think it's a conflict of interest because you're not going to be voting on any of that at these meetings.
Right. I am personally opposed to it,
Right.
and I will say so.
Right.
But I know I'm not supposed to stand up and be a spokesperson or anything like that, and I wouldn't be.
Right.
I also
You would
think...
be looking at the budget, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Right.
it's kind of, they're two separate, I think they're two
Right,
separate.
but it
Yeah, I do
does, in addition to watching the budget, the town is responsible for maintaining the quality of life of its residents, and we really only have maybe two new neighborhoods in this whole town, and one of them is the downtown, so that's another issue.
No, I think you bring up a fair point. How can you not be, influenced based upon your particular feelings on a certain issue?
Right.
And then when that issue comes before in an ancillary way, as it relates to
Right.
money, how can you not? It is obviously difficult to separate. So.
Well, I don't know whether I have to recuse
Yeah.
myself or not, but
Pam, can we
The only
see?
thing I can think of that might occur down the line here is if the selectmen determine that it has to be an article on the warrant. And
Right.
at that point, the advisory committee votes
On the warrant.
on
what's in it.
all the articles, so.
Well, I could present a minority, it may not even be a minority report. I don't know how the
I
rest of
mean,
the
some
advisory-
vote for things, some vote
Right.
against, so like Stash has said, I think everybody has vested interests in.
Sure, I just wanted to
Oh,
put
absolutely,
that out there
absolutely,
at the
yeah.
very beginning. Okay, well,
Absolutely.
that's it, that's my,
Okay. Miss Latham,
Yes.
how are you this evening?
All right.
Come on up.
Welcome.
Thank you.
How's it feel to be first up on the batting order? I was just talking about this being open season. No, not open season in terms, just like baseball, day one.
I'm sure that.
How do you feel?
Feed people the lions, you probably.
How can we even be perceived as lions?
I didn't say that.
Oh, all right.
We all love animals.
That's right, I'm animal control.
All right. So, tell me a little bit about how this past year has gone and how things are looking for you coming into the next year. Issues, concerns, things of that nature.
I'm not sure that it's a concern, as I'm sure you know, Bolton still does not have any kind of kennel. And, Bolton has been using Stowe's kennel for over a decade.
Yes.
And I think at some point Bolton may need to do something other than that. I'm not saying this, I see something on the horizon, but, as all towns are weighing, what to do about animal control, which is really true because the laws in the state have changed dramatically in the last year. Really dramatically. Just, something to think about. Bolton has used a number of different things for a while. Bolton sort of camped out at the vet down on the corner, and then when he left, Stowe took Bolton under its wing.
Yeah.
So
are we, everything goes to Stowe? Is that the
Yes.
deal? Okay.
well, everything being dogs.
Yeah. All right.
There really is no provision in animal control laws for, fortunately, impounding cats.
All right. So, yeah, go ahead.
The increase last year, it went up from $15 to $40 per day to kennel, at the kennel up in Stowe,
Well,
right?
it's changed a number of times.
Okay,
It
where do we
used to
at
be
now?
nothing.
Okay.
And that wasn't particularly fair. That Bolton dogs should be using Stowe's electricity. Then it went up to 15, then it went up to 40, then Stowe saw the error in its ways, and it's back down to 25.
Okay.
For the most part, that's covered by the fact that Bolton charges, if I pick up your dog, it's going to be charged to you at $40 a day. So Bolton is still sort of making out all okay, although it still comes out of my budget and nothing goes back into it. It's sort of the one-way street.
Is that the purchase of services?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a number of things, but that is probably where most of that money goes. So at this point, it's $25 a day, but where Bolton still is if there is an unclaimed dog. For instance, there was a lovely pit bull that I picked up with the help of a Bolton resident, and it was very, very sick, and it took me some time. Fortunately, Apple Country Animal Hospital donated a lot of services for this dog, and I was able to get it into a shelter, but not in 7 days. The law is no longer 10 days, it's 7 days that you have to keep a dog. So I I was actually there for 10 days, and I talked to Stowe, and Stowe said that they would not charge for anything more than 7 days. There are other things that have gone up dramatically. It used to be that if I picked up a cat or a dog that was on the side of the road hit by a car, and I had to go to a vet, that if it were mortally wounded and the vet had to keep it alive for 24 hours, which is what the law is, that if an animal is so badly injured that it's not something that's going to get better, most likely, and no owner shows up, it's 24 hours. It used to be that the town would pay the vet $20. Now, if you've got an animal, you know that $20 doesn't buy a Christmas card for the vet, let alone, any kind of service. It's now $250, which is much more, in the reality of what a vet is going to spend to keep an animal alive for 24 hours until an owner...
So by law, must attempt to keep the...
Unless it's an act of cruelty to do so.
And we as a town incur that cost?
Yes, absolutely.
If it's not claimed? If
That's
the dog's
correct.
not being claimed?
Yes, if it's claimed, then the person who owns the animal pays the vet and makes whatever arrangement that he or she makes with the vet. So that's something which is also dramatically different. It doesn't take many, hit by cars to, that aren't claimed. And it's most often cats that aren't claimed.
Does that also come out of purchase and services then?
It would be out of services because it's the services of the vet.
Purchase and services, yep, okay.
So, these are things that are really very, very, very dramatic. It's not, like an extra $15 for a bag of dog food. It's, an extra $500 for 2 cats that were hit by cars.
And Susan, can you provide us some explanation on supplies? Tell me what that involves.
That pesky town clerk has the audacity to put dog tags under my supplies.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of it. It's also,
But she has radically revamped and brought the hammer down on making sure everyone gets licensed, so
Well,
it all
With the
works
help
out,
of,
right?
Yeah, with
Yes.
Yes.
works. I still have writer's cramp from writing all the citations that I wrote this year. Yeah, I did.
You're starting to become a revenue stream.
I get sick and tired of seeing the same people's names in writing.
Yeah. I know when you came in last year, you were concerned, there was some concern on your behalf just in terms of being out there. You're a one-man band, and you voiced some concerns to us from what you had seen in the past. And so given that and your explanation and argument, we boosted up the travel, and along with supplies and purchase of services to account for everything that you've just been explaining. You're coming in this year completely as we asked, so thank you for that. Can you weigh in on that in terms of your concerns? Did it play out?
Well, a lot of it's dumb luck. It doesn't take much because the budget is small. One extra dog hit by a car is enough to make what looks like you're coming in under the budget. To be a thing of the past. For instance, that pit bull. If it weren't for the pit bull was sick. If the vet had charged, first of all, I paid some of it out of pocket myself. The vet had charged us what would have been the going rate for any of the medications that dog needed. That would have been the budget.
So, say that again. You, out of your own pocket, decided to pay.
Right. Yes, because I can't let a dog suffer the way that dog was suffering.
So Pat, I'm looking at the expenditure ledger, and it looks like right now to date, you've spent $716 of that $1,000. And we're not through the year
For
yet.
which?
For your in-state travel. So am I looking at the right thing?
I wouldn't think so.
No,
Well,
640,
because I
I
haven't,
see 664.
664.
I think it's, should be pretty much on target.
Maybe a different.
I'm looking at end date. Okay.
This is 1120.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm saying that I'm looking at.
No,
Oh, ending balance, what you have left, I'm sorry. So you're at $283 is what you spent so far. I'm reading
Okay.
it.
Well, for instance, there was a small owl that had flown into the windows of the library about 6 weeks ago. And it was very, very badly injured. I mean, very badly injured. Didn't think it was going to live. So I took it to Tufts, to the Wildlife Center. That's 48 miles to and from.
Yeah.
Is that the animal control officer's purview to do wildlife?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, I get as many wildlife calls as I do dog complaints, if not
Okay.
more.
Oh.
So yes, so it's animal control, it's not
So
just-
part of that cost was animal control, all animals, domestic
Absolutely.
or wild?
Absolutely. And then the good news is that the owl lived and was releasable. And in fact, it was released today, back where it came from, behind the library, at 4:10 this afternoon. And it flew off
Congratulations.
very
And so
happily.
he learned his lesson.
Well, he was in the right place to have read about it, wasn't he?
That's right.
That's a good
And if
point.
he were in fact a wise owl,
Oh, dear.
Shouldn't have even been near the library.
I hear
perhaps you
those
should build
owls
him.
during summer nights.
All right.
No, kudos. And I apologize for reading that wrong. You still have 716 in that line item. This is what I'm looking at, just
Yeah,
the run rate, or the, year to date.
All right. Any other questions from you guys?
Not here.
I had some questions.
All right.
You do get a COLA, and I'm wondering if we're seeing that in her salary,
I do get what?
Cost of
COLA.
living increase.
Cost of living increase, sorry. So, because I'm looking at, I don't think, I haven't done the number up, but I'm trying to figure out if that's 2% right there. So that's one question that I had, is whether or not that number is actually correct on the wages line.
14.
Mr. Chairman?
3.
Yes.
I believe last year Don asked you not to do anything related to COLAs, and that all at once, he and Julie would come in with the COLAs to be applied.
And then those numbers will change.
Then the numbers
Yeah,
will
that-
change.
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes,
I think part of it relates to wanting to make the non-union staff congruent with, they're consistent with the union, and sometimes he doesn't have all the union details until
After the fact.
budgets. Or
Thank you.
or he definitely doesn't ever have all of the union details, but he has a better idea a little further along of what they're likely to be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Does that, I
Yeah.
thought that was, thanks, Dave. Does that ring a bell with you?
Yes, now it
Alright,
does.
yeah,
Thank you.
okay.
Yes. And then my only other questions were, you were budgeted, in 2014, you were budgeted for 800, your actual was 610, and you're budgeted for 900. Your actual, so in 13, your actual was, I'm looking at your purchase of services. In light of the fact that the kennel costs have come back down to $25, would you feel comfortable moving that number down a little bit to adjust to that reduction?
It doesn't make any difference.
If you go over, we'll
Right.
end up,
I mean, if it looks better on paper, it's fine with me.
okay.
It just, just be prepared for
A transfer.
having to give it back.
Yeah.
Yep, no, and I just throw it out there, we may not want to entertain that. It was just the one place that I saw that,
Mhm.
in light of the change of cost of kenneling.
Yeah, and there are some things that, Stowe doesn't actually even charge for. So it also depends on, how they feel about things.
Okay. So I'll leave that one to the group. I don't know if that's something It seems like a logical reduction with the understanding, obviously, if it's a year of kenneling, that we would obviously need to transfer. And I don't know if we want to, go.
No, I agree. And there's very valid. So yeah, I think that's good. Thoughts? I mean, my thought is we looking at where the numbers have come in and knowing that, just assuming the same. And again, you're absolutely right. So that it's a crapshoot. You don't know what's going to happen, right? I mean, you could over the course of the next 2 weeks go on a slew of runs, and then it's also how long they're staying there. So,
Full respect and understanding for the fact that you don't know what's coming down the pipe.
yeah. So,
Factor.
so a cut of so
25.
bring that 9 down to 600.
610 was last year, was actual, and the year before was 532, so I'd be comfortable with 600.
How about making it 700, and that way you're probably much less likely to have to come back to the table for, $25.
That sounds good.
Sounds reasonable.
All right, we'll move that one to 7. Great, that's it for me. Thank you.
All set?
Dave?
Susan, you're also the animal control officer at Stowe?
I am.
Now, when you say Stowe decides this and that, is that you?
No.
No, you're...
No, I mean, I sometimes have...
I'm having an argument with myself.
Well, that way you always win, do you?
Yeah. And always lose.
I was being
Yeah,
positive.
but in terms of the decision of 25 versus 40, who would make that decision?
The Board of Health.
Board of Health.
And in fact, they held out for 40 in spite of my kicking and screaming and stamping my little feet. And then for some reason, probably 4 months, 5 months down the road, little epiphany and decided that 25 was a better figure.
And
I have no idea what changed their minds. It certainly, I finally stopped yelling, maybe that was it.
when they make an exception, like the animal that had to be there a little longer and they didn't charge for more than 7 days, is that the Board of Health as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, Board of Health, all towns do animal control a little differently. Board of Health is Stowe has a charter. And in the charter, it says that the Board of Health is the one in charge of animal control.
Whereas we do it through public safety, is that right? No, that's wrong.
No, selectmen.
It's right straight to the
Right now, it is
selectmen.
the selectmen. And different towns do it differently. It is probably, in more cases, it's usually either selectmen or police.
The budget is in public safety, isn't it? No?
It's its own.
No, I have my own rule.
Okay, I just thought when we saw those categories of spending, I thought animal control was in public safety, but
No.
perhaps
No,
not.
it is on its own.
It's all its own category.
Joe, do you have anything else?
No, I have nothing else.
I'm fine.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And thank you for what you do.
Thanks.
See ya.
Pam, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. How are you this evening?
Better than last year when we saw you. You had a boot on.
Oh, that's right.
Let's see here.
Okay.
160.
161, 162, 163.
All right.
Not the 6 of them.
So 161, we've got, the salary and wages,
Yep.
and then, the stipend is new this year because it became certified last July.
That's right. Yep, I remember
So passed
that.
the Mass General Law that allows $1,000 in stipend each year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the longevity is Susan's longevity. Purchase of services is only the PO box. The software support, we've decided to keep it in my budget because it's the general code, which is the bylaws that are online. And since I send everything to the AG's office and get everything approved and work with general code to get it online, we decided just to keep that there. So that number is not always used. I don't know if I have what I do so far. Well, maybe this is the first year. Anyway,
For software support,
yeah.
you have used so far, payments to date, if I'm reading it correctly this time, 1,600.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right.
Okay.
So they recommended we put the 2,500 in. It can be all over the place depending on how much we approve at town meeting. If there's a lot to put in.
Does that generally cover it usually?
Yeah, the 2,500. Now, the web services is the annual amount to host the bylaws. So this year it was $11.95.
Is that required by law to host them somewhere? How does that work?
I don't know if it's required by law. It's the company we've chosen to use. They also provide hard copies, CD, and all that stuff. So,
Okay.
So,
General organization and puts it out there to the public, all the
Right,
bylaw
right.
information. Okay.
and what's nice is there's a lot of towns that are going with this company, and so it really provides a service to us, along with just being able to see the bylaws. We can pull up, like the selectmen and I are working on a recall bylaw. So I could pull up all the towns that have recall bylaws, print them all out, we could pick,
Nice.
so there's a lot of resource there.
And in fact, that's what you've done to some extent in doing the new one, right? The fact that you've compiled and looked at what
Yes,
other like
we pick-
towns have done to
exactly.
formulate.
Instead of reinventing the wheel, we've, been able
What's
to
working,
utilize,
what's not
yeah.
working.
So there's a lot more to it than just people being able to search. Got it. Okay, let's see. Supplies, basic office supplies. Just keep it at 350. Oh, this year I did go up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a pretty big hike.
Yes, I did. Okay, there's a story to that.
Yeah, what's that?
I'm on the vault study committee, we're still looking at that. We've hit a tiny roadblock, and so we need to do more research to see if we can even do it on this building. I won't even bore you with what's going on with it, but I think we've missed the boat this year for town meeting anyway, so we're gonna keep plugging at it. But, so in the meantime, I wanna, and I'll know by June, or I'll know by the end of the fiscal year whether I wanna do this. I wanna get another file cabinet, because we need to put it somewhere.
So this 2,500 is for a new file.
Fireproof file cabinet, and they aren't cheap.
Where will it go?
Well, hopefully down here.
in this continued fire hazard.
Yeah.
No, that's okay, at least it's in this building. Safe.
So dues, I belong to two organizations. I belong to the Massachusetts Town Clerk Association and the Worcester County Town Clerk Association. And then meetings, those are 3 conferences that we have 3 times a year. I put it less this year because they moved the mid-state one to Devon's.
Nice.
So I can come home every night, so that'll save a lot of money. That's about it for-
Before we go any further,
Yes.
you lost me a little bit on the web services.
Okay.
So when I go out to the town website, I
Right.
can look up the bylaws.
Right.
You're not talking about that for
I'm
this
talking about the
number.
hosting. Yeah, they host that whole thing.
The whole town website or just the bylaw?
No, I'm sorry, just the bylaw. When you click on the bylaws, it takes you, it's a link to the company general code that we have,
Okay.
that did the bylaws for us.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to figure out if I want to go out onto the website and look at the bylaws. Why not just click a button, pull up a PDF so I can read it?
That's the way it used to be.
Why am I getting sent over to this other company?
Because they host it for us. They did all
But they're
the,
also hitting us for this amount of money, so.
That's if we add to it. That's if we add to the bylaws. Each year when we go to town meeting, we approve, potentially approve bylaws. If this coming year we don't approve any bylaws, we're not gonna spend any money.
Okay,
So that's all over the place. That depends on what we do at the town meeting.
all right.
So that's what we're seeing with these dashes here, that in,
Well, no, we just went on
oh, a line on,
Yeah.
in.
Yeah,
Okay.
last
yeah,
year.
that's
Oh.
why, sorry.
So the number here is strictly dependent upon actually what happens at town meeting. You've got no control of it.
And you're paying per amount of data, basically. that's
Well, it's
per-
data, it's also, before we even get the numbers for the bylaws, they number the bylaws for us. There's an editor I work with who was a bylaw on a PDF. And every time somebody added a bylaw, it was 2.5.7.2.4, it just got to be an unyieldy document. And so I worked with the planning board and the planner to get a document that is searchable. It's laid out by the same way that the Mass General laws are, the numbering sequence and all that. And there's a lot of other features to it. I can't give it justice right now, but there's a lot of other features to it and a lot of research that went into,
No, and that's,
And it has a lot of-
I love the
Yeah.
fact that you can go in and you can look at other towns on
Right,
certain bylaw
right.
and then pull and call work that's already been done
Right, but that's part of the
create-
hosting.
and that, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
All
there
right.
a website we can go to check this thing out?
Yeah, ours.
And then just link right to
Just,
it?
yeah, on the left side, it says bylaws and regulations. You click on that and you're sent to general code, and it's just Bolton at that point, but you can look at other towns and, has a list of all the Mass General laws we've accepted. I mean, it just has a host of things that we use here all the time.
Okay.
You have a question?
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, yes, sir.
It seems to me we'll know what we're going to do like by mid-February in terms of changes to the bylaws, because the
Well, we
articles
have an
have to be
idea.
submitted. I know the planning board is working on a couple of amendments to
Right.
bylaws, but since we'll have the list of all the, not the final form, but we'll know them all by mid-February, it seems to me you could hone in on that budget pretty tightly.
I'm not sure I can, because it depends on whether it's approved at town meeting or not. If it's not approved at town meeting, we won't.
Well, make the
can't have
worst assumption in your budget then, that the amendments
All passed,
could
they all
pass.
go in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that they all go in.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose
I
we
mean,
could try.
make sure your budget isn't any larger than that they all, because remember, we have to pay taxes on whatever you budget for. That's why over budgeting is such a horrible thing, in my view, is our taxes are based on what you put in the budget, and if you put more in the budget than you really need, we pay more taxes than you really need.
But you did use, it looks like your actual in fiscal year 2014 was very close to the 1,200, 1,195. So
Right, that's probably,
you were
that's
like
probably
spot
gonna.
on last year.
that
so
was
I'd be curious to
probably
see what
gonna
happens
stay.
this year.
No, but it's the 2,500. It's the 5243 software support that is dependent on what we add to the bylaws.
All
I
right,
thought we were
so,
talking web services.
so did I.
I did too.
Oh, I'm sorry, no, web service is, well, it is the hosting, but what David's talking about is the 2,500, that's what we're, what we add.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
hold on. No, hold on.
I know, it's confusing.
All right.
It
So
is
that's where, I'll make sure I got it right. So the web service,
So the web services, let me get my
Is
line
the-
here, is the hosting.
Ah,
And the books, and the, and the added stuff. The software support is what we add to it each year. Like, I know we're gonna have to add the zoning map this year. I have no idea what,
so they're gonna charge us per,
Well, I don't know how they give me a quote. I mean, I send to them what we've approved at town meeting, and they give me a quote.
And you've already spent 16 of the 25 today.
Right, but I won't spend any more. You'll get that back at the end of this year.
But we paid the taxes for that, so that's why
Yeah,
I'm
but it's not
unhappy
that
with this.
It's not that
Yeah,
much.
but everybody did that.
so,
Well,
it's meaning that where we're at right now with that line item.
I'm done.
You're done for
I'm
this
done,
year.
absolutely.
Okay,
All
so,
right.
yep.
So,
okay.
given that, if we were to move it to 1,600, and then you came in short next year, you're gonna come to us for for an ask, right?
Sure. I mean, if you want to do it that way, rather
Yeah.
than,
Are you guys okay with that?
Absolutely. Sure.
so what do you want to change it to, 1,600?
16.
Let's see.
So 2,500 becomes 16.
Believe me, I try to keep it as
So
But-
I recognize that, but
Yeah.
also what you, and I'm not picking on you, what you mentioned.
Right.
If everyone says
Right.
it's not that much, which is,
Well,
but then multiply it out.
to be honest with you, this is the second year that I've done this, and that was the placeholder suggestion they made.
Exactly.
So,
No,
I'm gonna look
Pam,
at
you're right.
this too.
Yeah.
You're
So
right.
I-
You're
It's
right.
hard
agree.
because there's not a
I
history
agree,
to go off of.
Yeah.
I know, so we're building the history,
There you go.
and we're gonna remember this conversation next
Right,
year.
next year we're gonna say,
And we're
gee,
gonna go,
it was about the
and
same.
we'll, exactly, and we'll work off of that.
Perfect.
So
Sounds
you're
good.
right, it's, we're coming into this new
Yes.
on this one, so let's, all right.
Right.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine.
All right, so are you guys, is everyone good on 161?
You
that
know,
group
the
thing.
formula by which they charge us, I mean, both the ongoing costs and these.
I
updates, 'cause
don't know the formula.
If there's a way we could present the product to them so that we minimize our costs.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I try
Or
to
is it-
utilize them ahead of town meeting. I have them help me with verbiage and numbering and all that, and then when I get my quote, I don't think they've included that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like the fact that you have access in that added support,
Yeah.
which is huge, especially
Yeah.
given what has been put forth before the town and all the various amendments and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which would, so, but yeah, let's,
Yeah, let's try
Let's
it.
see what
Let's see.
But I
Let's see
think it'd be
happens.
interesting to find out what the formula is.
What their
'cause
formula
I just
is.
don't
If I
like to
can-
buy something.
I know.
And they tell me what it costs and I have no
Right.
feeling what the
Right.
competitor charges, why they charge.
Okay.
162.
Oh my gosh, have I got a surprise for you guys? I just found out, I just nailed down yesterday, after trying since December, to find out if there's gonna be a third election, which I thought there was gonna be when I submitted my budget, but there's only gonna be 2. So I wanna reduce,
Great, like that.
like by 4,000, 3,379. Okay, so in the last column requested for 2016, under 162, for total elections, you know, I paired off under wages and purchase of service. So the totals now, what I'd like to budget, what I'm budgeting for is 7,907 as opposed to 11,286. So I just printed those
Great.
sheets, I figured you guys
Perfect.
could pop them in, but.
You got it.
Great.
And Julie has this one on it. So she.
Not yet, I
figured- no?
emailed it to Linda and I will get it to Julie. And then I changed my, this notes and justification, just saying there's 2 elections.
Great.
So there's a town and there's the presidential primary.
Okay.
Of course, that goes way up in 2016.
Yeah, right, because I'll have 3 elections then. But it'll still be around 11. I mean, usually if it's 3 elections, it's,
It's good news.
yeah. Okay. Their purchase of service supplies. I could probably reduce, I didn't even think of that. I could probably reduce the supplies too.
Are you still on 162?
Yeah.
You've done so on the new one, haven't you? No,
Do the,
oh, no, you haven't, 750.
No, I left it
Yeah.
at 750.
Yeah.
I probably should move that down to 550.
Okay.
And that
Yeah, which
increase
is
last year
consistent with the.
was because of the
Awesome.
extra election. All right, so we move that back to 550.
550, yep, that sounds good.
Yeah, sorry, I should have. All right, so I'll fix this again tomorrow. And then I'll email it to you guys. Should I mail it to you
But
guys?
I've written
I-
it
yeah,
down.
Oh, you're good with
I-
that?
yeah.
Okay,
Same
I'll
thing.
make sure
But
Julie
Julie
and
and-
Linda have the revised.
All right.
Okay.
Do towns or regions or the state negotiate master contracts with these office suppliers, like Staples?
I don't know if we do it as a group, but I have found, there was a vendor that was at one of our conferences that gives us good discounts, so I've been using them. New England Office Supply, NEOS.
There's a lot of margin in there. And
Oh, I'll
I mean,
bet.
in industry,
I'll bet.
they'll get different locations together and give them a list of frequently purchased things and get a quote on those and they're much.
I have to tell you that, well, what I'd like to see is the town hall do office supplies.
I mean, if
So would I.
everybody in town
Versus
is buying
everybody.
individually, the benefit.
I would like that under Don
But
for the entire time.
But I will say, we utilize stuff, we bring, I mean, Jim Anchor brought us folder, all sorts of office supplies that we all pilfered through. We reuse folders, I mean, we're really good. I have to say, I've never been in an environment.
My budget tabs have been reused. When I got my, did you
Oh my
notice
gosh.
that? Your tabs and your
Oh, yeah.
budgets? Look at the back side of those.
Oh, yeah,
In there, they're
we
being
save.
reused.
Well, I always make a point.
I noticed that.
I bring a pen in from work, I invariably leave it here, and then I
You
see
probably
it.
have those.
I know you do, because I've seen it in the hands of others, which is fine.
And then Mike Savage leaves a bunch in his truck and then he brings them back in.
Well,
Well, yeah,
Alright.
we're good about that.
yeah, no, I've,
But I would, it just makes, I mean, we do a paper, we do, you know, we do all the copy paper. We do
As
that
a-
off a, I think, off a state.
Off a state contract.
Yeah.
for the entire town.
Well, no, for the,
Yes. This is it, Pam. If you could help me, I've been talking to Don for a while on this, so if you could help me out on that one, because I feel as though that there is some economy of scale
town
going
hall.
across.
Well, I have to say, between the offices on this side, we share stuff all the time. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Exactly.
It's
Within this,
ridiculous.
but
We don't buy a whole lot, but we do buy, we should all buy.
yeah,
But, I mean,
exactly.
it's
And
crazy.
it can, I think, it can be,
I was shocked when I started.
yeah. All right.
Okay, all right, be that as it may. Okay, street listings, 163. Wages, it's in the Mass General Law that the registrar gets the registrars get $150. Purchase of services is pretty spot on. That is the census vendor that does that. And a few years back, before you guys are on here, we used to do it in-house. And I calculated what it cost. Paper, time, postage, because we were paying full postage for each thing that went out, 48 cents, whatever it was. And I calculated it all out, and it definitely made sense to use a vendor on all of that. And we get a discounted postage rate.
And the difference between 15 and 16 of 200 is their cost, or what?
Yeah, the
Is that
postage went up a little bit, I mean, 2 cents
Yes.
a piece, and printing cost, that kind of thing, yeah. But they've been pretty steady.
So we would incur the same if we brought it back in bottom line, things like
If not more.
postage. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, exactly, more.
Yep.
Postage
Very good.
alone is well worth it.
Have we investigated, if we were to do it, having nonprofit status at the post office?
We can't get nonprofits.
Really?
No. Nonprofit.
Yeah, it's about a $250, $300 for a permit, I think, but then it's...
Right.
Yeah.
It's
The only
very hard to get, we're not,
Yeah, we're
we're not a
not
nonprofit. I don't
nonprofit.
know if there's a government rate or
Yeah.
not.
Right.
Because the town of Bolton, like a Boston College or a healthcare organization,
Right.
they make so much money they can classify themselves as a not-for-profit.
Check with the town hall folks when they
I will
come
check
in.
with the post office.
Oh,
What's the vendor name? Vendor name?
MCC, it's the same vendor that Donna uses for the tax bills.
Thank you.
I'm okay with 163. Anything outside of you guys on 163?
All right, so I'll make that change on supplies.
Well, Pam, thank you.
You're welcome. Is that Connie's notebook? You're very welcome. Let me leave that for her. All right.
Have a nice evening.
You too.
Thanks.
Sure. Take care.
Colleen Demmer, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well?
Just left my son's basketball game.
Thank you for being here.
I'll be
Yeah.
back, I'll see the end.
How are they doing so far?
Good, 3-3. I mean, 3 record. so-
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
First scoring game.
That was it.
They were up by 11 when I left.
All right.
Okay, so, in keeping with some of the conversation that I heard you talking, Pam, last year was the first year the Economic Development Committee had submitted a budget. We weren't sure exactly what we were going to do at the time, so we had submitted $1,000, and we said $100 was going to be for mailing out welcome letters, packages, $200 was going to be for brochures, and $700 was going to be online marketing. At the time when we came out, we ended up in April having a business event, our first business event at Ray Grenier's Bolton Global Capital. And it was a very successful event, but all out of our pockets as usual. So when we came into this year, the major thing that we've been focusing time on was our wreath project. And
I saw that was like up until today was like the coldest day of the year, so they looked great.
Looked great.
Thank you.
we're
Yes, that's right.
very excited about that. You know, we really want to create excitement with the businesses, but that was self-funding with some extra money left over, and hopefully we can use that money to maybe purchase some sort of permanent fixture. So that was most of our time. We're doing another event in April. It's either going to be at the winery with Rich Pelletier or the International, we're not sure. So we know we're going to be spending money in April, and hopefully we're going to have the brochure ready. So we haven't spent the money, and believe me, Dave, I totally buy into, you know, you budget money, we base the tax base on it. I can guarantee you we'll be spending at least $500. I mean, I hope to spend $1,000 before June.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's your call. I mean, everything that we do out of pocket has been out of my pocket. So I was looking forward. So even though the tax rate has gone up, you know, I purchased our ribbon cutting stuff, everything that we do. So I would hope that you can support the $1,000 for next year, even though we haven't spent it out of pocket. But I know we're going to be having an event in April. We're going to be coordinating that again with the Neshoba Valley Chamber of Commerce like we did last year.
Well, I think you've demonstrated of doing a lot of good things for the town and working to bring in commerce and things of that nature. And you made a good enough justification to get into the budget. And so I guess my question is why do you keep on spending out of your own pocket?
Well,
Which the town appreciates, but
we didn't have it last year. We didn't have a budget. So in 2000, last year,
come into their
last year when the first time we had our event, we had the budget approved, but it was for this coming year, so it was a timing issue.
Okay.
Why didn't you use the $1,000 for seed money for the wreath project?
You know what, because we really wanted to do, actually two reasons. One, we wanted to create something that was we really want the businesses to buy into these wreaths. It ended up being not quite, we had 35 participants and we probably had 10 families, 25 businesses. So the goal of it is actually to get
That back and forth.
Right, business participation.
But somebody had to front the money for the wreaths before the people, or did you take orders and then?
So
How did
Bruce
that
Slater
work?
made the order and then submitted the invoice to Erica. And then once
Out of his pocket? Okay.
no money exchange. Wilson, did it based upon a bill.
Okay.
I believe the invoice was paid it went right to Wilson Farm. So they, just like any business that's buying wholesale, you get it, they bill you. So he bought the wreaths and then we reimbursed based upon the money that we brought in. So hopefully this $400 will go to some sort of permanent fixture. I don't know what we could get for $400.
How many businesses are there?
There's actually, it depends if you count, a DBA business.
Right.
So we have actually hundreds, based upon that. But we probably have, 100, 120,
Sure.
business. I mean, it would have been nice to see other people participate. The event that we had at Ray Grenier's was really helpful in April, and it was the week before town meeting. So I know that this year there doesn't seem to be a lot of controversial things at town meeting, but the businesses found it really helpful to have some sort of forum to ask questions, and the mixed use, the village overlay was there last year, so the businesses felt, we got such positive feedback that we had the event, and they actually felt part of a community. Because, and we're really, really looking forward to Frank Patterson and 626 Main Street. I really feel that that's going to be a linchpin change of.
It looks beautiful over there.
Yeah.
Between that and the
Town Common.
I've gotten a lot of, feedback to the Town Common, but also just feedback on the wreaths and having something, the continuity of something in town. I would love to see a more permanent fixture. My own plug right now. It sounds like that some of the monies that was left over from this, even to the point where I know you've talked in the past about the flags in Littleton and how sometimes these businesses are putting forth money for a wreath during the season. Why not a banner with their business that's beautiful looking? And again, that would be down the road for you guys, but something business friendly and again, community building with that. I'm excited for you guys.
I would love that. I would love that. And I'm not sure about my tenure on the Economic Development Committee, but, I really
I heard some whispers on it.
hope to be setting up though for the future. I think there'll be a lot of great momentum going forward. That's what I'm hoping. Because all the stuff you put in place, it should not be dependent upon a person. It should be dependent upon the process being set up.
Yeah, agreed.
Started a good
I
process.
hope so.
Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Ted?
No, it's a great point.
Yeah.
Did you say there was a little something left over from the wreaths?
$413.
Do you put that in a checking account?
So actually, that's really interesting. So we went back and forth about how we were going to bring in money. And the Economic Development Committee is not a standalone business, so we didn't know how to do it. We had checked with the town accountant and Linda Day, and they said that we should make the checks out to the town of Bolton, and they were going to set the money aside. I don't know the logistics about exactly where the
Julie created an account.
My question was just going to be whether you ran it by Julie. And
Oh,
you
yeah.
did,
Oh, yeah.
and so that's
Julie
great.
created an account, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, and then, so.
Because we, about 6 or 7 years ago, we found several different town departments
I was not going
have
to do
these
anything.
funds where they just put them in a checking account or something
No.
without it being part
And I
of the
talked
town.
to Erica about that today.
Yeah.
And Julie
Great.
also.
Yeah, and then the other thing that we would like to look into, we actually discussed at our meeting last night, it would have been great to have been able to do some online payments, but said that she's not sure how the town of Bolton could facilitate that, because we were thinking that maybe we could have gotten more participation, but I don't know about that.
Goal for next year? Maybe we'll have more businesses coming.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Thank you, Carl.
Lane, thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you liked the reads. I also like the fact they were understated. I liked it. I felt it looked very
I was
pointy.
hurt though, you stopped just before my house.
So actually, when we had done the original count, are you near Harvard Road?
I'm just between Murphy's Insurance and what used to be Vinnie Alfano's house.
Yeah. So we had originally contemplated going all the way down to Harvard Road, but
But there's no place to stand in the road, and that's true in the front of my house.
Yeah.
too.
I mean, the vision would be to do all 117,
Sure.
so,
We picked a good spot.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Gary, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So first of all, the summary that you put forth, I thought was great. Thank you for laying that out.
Well, it actually helps me when I'm trying to put the numbers together to do something like that, so
Yeah.
hopefully it's helped you guys. Copies of that? Yeah.
I'll take a flashback. It's on my iPhone.
Yeah, all set? Yeah.
I've got one in here.
You got it.
Alright, so you guys have this on 155, which is, I don't know,
MIS, it's on
20
the
pages or so.
His budget, yeah. Yeah, you kind of got a couple things.
Here it is.
Okay.
So do you just want me to go through the
Yeah,
process?
if you,
And then
if you
I'll
don't,
look and ask questions along the way?
exactly, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay, so what I usually do is I sort of give a snapshot of where I am today in terms of my budget. So this is current FY '15, sort of a perspective, just so we have an idea on how things look today. And for virtually all the items, we're pretty much on track. The only place that I might be underspending is in the repairs bucket. But there may be a service call for the plotter, I don't know yet, so that would take a reasonable chunk out of that. But other than that, we're pretty much on target for everything. I don't anticipate at this point in time needing any transfer requests or whatever.
So on the repairs, I mean, you got 850, you haven't spent any as of yet, but you're anticipating something and it's.
Well, I have actually I've spent $47 or something for a power supply replacement at the library. I had to get a part for that. So, and when I do that, my labor is in purchase of services, even though it's a repair, that's just the parts. However, when someone else does it, for example, the plotter, then obviously I put their labor and their material in that bucket. So when I estimated the 850, I was thinking about at least, if I remember from last year, I was thinking about one service call for the plotter and one service call for one of the PCs in the library that was no longer under warranty. And then I had traditionally had a $100 item just for general and just in case miscellaneous things. So that's where the 850 came from. So again, as of today, it's just that one power supply part, and that's it. But we have 6 months left.
Okay.
All right? So, and that my table there represents, just so people understand, the kind of thing I spend my time on. Ranges from user support to infrastructure support, network servers, a variety of projects such as the GIS project and the GeoTMS project, some general administrative work for the department, dealing with purchase orders and invoices and things like that. So that's FY15. Any questions on that?
Anyone?
Okay. FY16, so we'll go through this in a little more detail. Purchase of services, this is 100% my time. This is what I bill the town. Last year, I billed out 810 hours.
Yeah.
And I've dropped that down to 750 because last year we had a significant, I had a significant effort in terms of doing some project management for a GIS consultant that we had for free for 2 years, and for us to get the most out of it, I could spend a little extra time with that person.
Yeah.
But we, it was...
And the project at the police department too.
Pardon me?
The project at the police department weren't you involved?
Which project was that? Probably not. I'm usually not involved in things at police department, other than occasionally technical...
I had that question, actually. So the police department is on their own, in their own IT world?
Yeah.
Okay, so you cover DPW, the COA, town hall, library.
Right.
EMS and fire, is that also their own?
That's part of the public safety building, yeah.
Okay, so that all has its own, okay, that's...
When I first started, I billed a few hours at the police station helping out Andy Bagdonis, who was sort of their in-house IT person back then.
Okay.
But when they moved to the new building, they brought in a solution provider who designed everything and offered services, et cetera, and it was, their special solution, so it made more sense for them to just sort of
Okay,
deal
in
with
their
that. And
budget.
that's historically been the way it is, and they're continuing to do it.
So you don't ever really overlap with them?
No, I think...
Anymore?
No. we coordinate a little bit, you know, with Ben and Lorraine, and I talk a little bit about it. For example, the security cameras, you know, we have displays over there.
Okay.
Good.
So, all right, so purchase of services, so I'm estimating, because that GIS project has been completed, it's a little bit less time than I'm anticipating for this fiscal year and next fiscal year, so I estimate that at $750. I'm expecting to have a discussion with Don about increasing my rate when my contract is due. My contract ends this June, end of this fiscal year, and I'm estimating for planning purposes that it'll go to $48. And he and I have had a brief discussion about it, and at this point, he's generally supportive. So, 750 times 48 is 36,000. Any questions on that?
Anyone? Okay.
I will talk a little bit about the equipment and the library equipment a little bit later, but just as a quick summary, there's like 20 PCs that are have ended their warranties, they cannot extend them any further, etc. And what I've typically done, and I sort of described it here, was what I typically do is wait till that extended warranty is over, try to get a few years or months out of it, and then replenish the PC.
Yep.
But I think with the library and 20 PCs, that's just too excessive, so I'm spreading it out over 4 years, prioritizing, etc. Because I'm doing that, I think there's a higher probability of having out-of-warranty repairs, so I'm adding that number in to sort of cover that contingency. So I'm assuming that, for example, for next fiscal year, we'll have all 10 public PCs, and if I remember correctly, all 5 public access catalogs, and 1 staff PC out of warranty. So I'm just guessing 3 service calls is a reasonable thing to plan for. So at $300 is my estimate, probably $200 worth of labor and $100 of materials, where that comes from. The HP plotter is the same as this year, 1 service call. In that case, I'm assuming 200 labor, 200 materials, and then my miscellaneous $100 for $1,400 total.
Tell me where there's a dramatic increase in repairs in 14, and you're essentially budgeted.
I'm sorry, dramatic increase in repairs?
Yeah, so you were budgeted 100 in FY14, and the actual came in at 870.
Yeah, I can tell you about that.
All right.
The reason we had this plotter
Yeah.
donated to us. It's an old plotter. It worked. It was in pretty reasonable shape, and it was just tuned up. It was donated to us, and it was perfect for our GIS application, our GIS software that we're running now. Okay. So we've been using it, but when we initially got it, put it all together, and I hooked it up to a server, there were some problems with it. I had to call in I don't know anything about plotters.
Okay.
I had to call in someone, and that's where the bump up came from. So the bulk of that repair had to do with the plotter service calls. I think it was like $600+ or something.
All right.
And from that, I've kind of deduced this 400 projected plotter repair. Last year, we had a discussion about what to do about a plotter, if it's going to be expensive. Should we look at buying a new one?
How much was the new one? It was
The
big,
new
wasn't
ones,
it?
the big ones can be fairly expensive. They can go from, reasonably low cost of $1,500 to $2,500, $3,000.
And what's the life on something like that?
I don't have a lot of experience with it. The one that was donated to us was pretty old, and they were used, so I think if you take care of it, it lasts for, 5 years, I'm guessing.
How old
but-
was ours?
I don't know.
It's
But it was
not old.
donated to us because it was too old for
them.
this company that was
Okay.
using it, and in thinking about replacing that plotter instead of spending money if it continues to break, we're just starting to use it. We're learning about what we need it for, etc. And those kind of prices of $1,500 to $2,000, I'm just still a little unsure about whether it makes sense to really consider buying one at this point. I mean, are we able to keep this going for another year or two with no problems? I don't know.
Have you serviced it yet this year?
No. And, no, I'm kind of anticipating that there might be a little bit of a problem, I don't know.
Alright, you guys, any questions?
Where is this blotter and how much is it used?
Right over there.
Okay.
But it's not, it's
Printing
used.
maps and things like that?
Pardon? Yeah, exactly, like that,
Yep.
like that map.
Okay.
We used it quite a bit last year when the planning board was dealing with medical marijuana studies. You know, we generated a lot of, we did some analysis for them, and we generated a lot of plots with buffer zones around, you know, schools, libraries, churches, and things like that. So we generate quite a bit. But lately, last, you know, 6 months, not that much. But I think that, you know, Conservation is working with me now on mapping trails. Other organizations are interested in generating some maps, so I expect the use to go up. But I don't have any empirical data yet. I've got to sort of see how things look.
If it fails, do we take a CD to Staples or Kinko and do it there?
You could do that, yeah. You could do that. And, you know, that's a good backup, actually.
So your experience is limited on plotters, but servers, laptops, computers, all that stuff.
In terms of the software associated with it, and I have some experience with repairing hardware,
Yeah.
but not a lot.
Alright.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm an IT person, usually provides user support. How do I use the software? Software installations and configurations, network operating systems, maintenance, etc. A lot of the software type stuff and very little of the hardware. Over the years, I've gotten to know enough about hardware that I can at least diagnose fairly quickly. And,
Yeah.
and with under warranty, I can get the Dell tech out here in a day's notice and get it fixed.
okay.
But,
And you keep track of all those warranties and
yeah,
make sure we're not late
exactly.
extending them, and things like that.
Yep.
Okay. I would, given what's gone on in the past and where you're at right now, I be comfortable taking the 1450 back to 850 and because a large part of that is the expectation that there's going to be more service calls on the library.
Yeah.
And I recognize they're 2009 and it's now 2000. I get all that, but it's a future probability.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of
And
like
so-
insurance, you know, I'm not sure.
So
what
I'd rather just stick with the 850 of where you were last year.
Okay.
And he's gonna come back when something.
Yeah.
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 And I'm not trying to be disrespectful of your time.
No, I
and
understand completely.
making you come back in and ask for the money. But,
You know, because this is an insurance kind of model, you know, it's sort of my feeling on what the risk is, and, you know, I might be, you know, view it from one angle, you guys might view it from another angle, etc. I perfectly understand it. The only thing is that this may not be an impact here, because in the library we have, for example, 10 public PCs. And if 1 or 2 break, okay, there's 8 left.
that's also
You know?
where I was going, yeah.
So, you know, there's not a critical time situation, so that if I have to come back or find money somewhere else, I have a little bit of time to do that. So I think that's not too...
Alright.
So that whole bucket will go down from 1,400 to 850.
Alright, and,
Okay.
okay.
Anything else on repairs?
I don't have anything else on repairs, do you guys?
I have a general question. What's the difference between the library and the police and fire and safety that makes you the service provider of choice to the library, but not fire and safety? Just, it's, I mean, 2 new buildings, and they're are there,
That's...
and I'm thinking more in the future when we talk to fire and safety, asking them
Okay.
why they're doing what they're doing too.
I'm an individual person, okay, and the kind of, I think if I were to answer with a single word, it would be the complexity, 2 words, the complexity of the requirements, complexity. the library had, they've got 20 computers. There's no server there, it's a basic network. I hook up the PCs, I, watch the software, configure the software, etc. It's a fairly simple networked environment. There is an application at the library, there's a variety of applications at the library that are handled by CW Mars. They're the library consortium or something that deals with special applications that tie all these libraries together. So I handle sort of one dimension. If there's any applications, they handle it that way. In the public safety building situation, they had not only traditional PCs, they had voice over IP systems to deal with. They had fairly complex client-server relationships set up between all their PCs and a variety of servers, including something called an Exchange email server, which is a fairly complex piece of software from Microsoft. I've worked with that before and I've supported that before, but not with everything else all tied in. The voice over IP system they have over there is very specialized and very complex. They have a 911 system over there. They have some kind of a system dealing with a database of the ambulance. It's a very, very complicated thing. And it was just, frankly, it was just too much for me as an individual.
Sure.
I would have loved to be able to, get involved in it, but it would have taken a lot of ramp up and a lot of dedication, so it didn't work out. So, let's see. Software support. This is usually just purchasing software and maintenance contracts. One big maintenance contract we have is for software from a company called Esri, ESRI. It's GIS software. There are 5 licenses the town owns. It's a fairly expensive piece of software, and they are all on this kind of stuff. And they charge a maintenance fee of $1,500, is that right? $1,600 per year, and it's been like that ever since I've been here. And for that maintenance, we get obviously all the support we need, which is very helpful, but we also get free upgrades when their software gets upgraded, which is a big plus.
Okay.
Windows upgrade licenses. There's a few Windows upgrades that I want to do, mostly having to do with older PCs to provide for volunteers and STRP workers, etc. If someone comes in and wants to use help out conservation, for example, with data entry, they're using XP, which is the older environment. There's no security. The security on that is particularly bad because it's not being updated. So
There's no support from Microsoft.
No support from Microsoft. The last a long time ago went away. So because of that, I think it's worth it to upgrade those and have a few available for guests and volunteers and senior tax rebate folks.
Have you staggered this Windows license upgrade on a staggered system like you're proposing?
No, I did. What I did last year, I took care of most of those in FY15.
Okay, all right. Hence the reason why it was slightly under the actual. The budget was slightly under the actual, but relative to 16, it's $400 cheaper because you did the majority of them last year.
Yeah.
So the GIS is just that's a fix.
Kind of a fixed thing every year after.
Okay, fine.
All right. Web services.
Yep.
This is a lot of things. The first thing is Comcast Internet and Email. We basically use Comcast for Internet access and our email accounts. That's the annual charge. I pay on a monthly basis, but that's what it comes out to. VTH is Virtual Town Hall. They are the hosting provider for our town website, and they charge us every year a maintenance, hosting fee, support fee, etc. And there's a new add-on to that called BCIS, which the town clerk had developed 2 years ago, I think, and there's an annual fee associated with that.
Yeah, all right, so that was where I was going. She was just in here 20 minutes ago, and she was telling us all about that, and this hosting concept.
Yep.
So that's in hers, and it's different, it's
Well,
over and above the 48.
No. They're not, I hope she didn't put it in hers. The $500 for DCIS? She shouldn't have,
No,
because last year
it
we had an
wasn't-
agreement that it would be, because our virtual town hall is the same vendor that I deal with for the hosting provider, and it's all basically the same thing. We agreed to bring it.
Guys, so going back to 161, we were all slightly, questioning the difference on software support versus web services. And we took her from 25 down to 1,600 on the software support. When she was talking to us about this,
DCIS.
I don't know, is that the one where
The
they,
Boards and Committee Information System is what she calls.
is it for the bylaws, adjusting the Okay, so this is, all right, this is
Totally
something.
different, it looks
Alright.
like, this is the code Bolton, that was, her stuff was code Bolton.
All right.
In fact, it's BCIS is just a mechanism on the website for everyone to see what's available for the boards and committees in terms of vacancies, how to apply, et cetera, and historical.
Yeah,
track.
so her budget item was the bylaw
Yeah, that's
aspect.
totally
Okay.
different.
All right.
So, all set, virtual town hall, so there was those two items, the hosting of the website and BCIS.
Mhm.
Domain registration is a normal annual fee we have to deal with for .com domains. Nothing, it's fixed price, basically. Online, all set?
Yep.
Online backup service, $600, that covers all the PCs and the servers. I'd moved to online backup when our mechanical tape drives failed before. Online payments, our GOTMS automated payment permitting system, we have an online version of that called GOTMS Web, and we offer online payments for that, and there's a standard fee that we have to pay to MCC. Just same thing that Donna uses for her stuff. $500 for that. GIS online service and upload. This is for the GIS, the Bolton GIS maps to be on the website. This is hosted by a different vendor, Cartographics, $1,800 a year, and I have a $250 item in there for uploading or updating content or uploading new content during the year once. And that totals $10,796. All set?
Okay. Guys, questions? Good? All right.
Purchase of equipment.
Yep.
Okay. And Brad, you had sent an email to Linda and the Hillside Fire Department.
You did.
Okay.
Yeah, but it did generate more questions.
Okay, good.
But I mean, this layout is, again, I know Sasha waited on this with you, on this overall, but I think this is great. It definitely helps me in your field of study, because I don't know a thing. But so,
Well, I'm
laying it all-
glad you guys can find it valuable, because this is the way I do it. And,
Yeah.
I'm a little bit anal about this whole thing, but that's the way it is. So purchase of equipment. The first paragraph kind of describes my philosophy on technology refresh. And I talk about the library, 21 PCs were purchased initially in 2000.
and that was baked into the overall
project.
online of the library. That the library came online.
In December of 2009.
Okay. All right.
And there was a determination made about, what the layout would be, how many PCs would be for adults, how many PCs would be for young adults, how many PCs would be for children, and what's the operational requirement? Circulation desks, public catalogs,
Yeah.
et cetera.
Okay.
Okay? So there are 21 PCs and blah, blah, blah. I want to stage this out over 4 years instead of doing it all at once.
Yep.
The rest of, the BPL, the library equipment is the last 3 in the list, BPL PCs, 3 circulation and 2 staff. I view that as critical to the operation. In fact, the power supply I had to replace was one of the circ desks. So that was down. That's very critical when they have, those are used all the time. There are there are actually 3 staff PCs. One's very likely that. You see my note, delay 3rd staff PC. 2 are, one's the technical person, not technical, he's the person who manages bringing in and cataloging and inventorying all the books, and he's on his PC all the time, so he needs his. And there's one other staff PC in the children's area. They use that for content development and other things.
Yeah.
So those are important in my mind, and Kelly agrees with me on that. All right, so the other 2, the patron PCs, there are 10. That includes 6 adults, 2 young adults, 2 children. I want to delay those.
Yeah.
And the public PCs, public access catalog packs, delay those as well.
So-
And I spread them out over the next subsequent years.
Alright, and so, going on the same number, 3 circ, 2 staff at 5,100, that's a buy, correct?
That's about it, yeah.
And therefore, the 10 the 10 patrons, delayed for this year, let's assume next year, double the number, we're talking 10, right?
The total will always be 10, but what I will do is...
No, 10 grand.
Oh.
5 at 5,100.
No, it won't be the same, because there's slight difference between, it'll be less, it'll be a little bit less. Okay?
Okay, alright.
Because the circulation desks are called all-in-ones. They're integrated in big screens. That's just than normal ones.
Alright, so
it'll be a little bit less, but approximately. I don't want to buy 10 grand. No, I don't want to buy. No. You should think for the patron PCs, probably around 800 to 900 a piece.
So the all-in 14,425 for total equipment. That represents the library, but it also represents stuff that's going on with the town hall.
Yes, the stuff like
Right.
that.
So can you explain to me the difference between the technology refresh line 41 for 4,100 and then the technology refresh for 38?
Sure. There's 3 PCs of the desktops associated with certain people. I can't remember, I have them written down somewhere, but they're the PCs that people use on their desks. So, for example, the assessor's office has 2 PCs. They use that all the time. When it's time for a technology refresh, I will replace those individual PCs. In my office, I have 3 servers. The servers house a lot of they act as file servers. They act as a variety of network function servers. They have the databases for GOTMS, GIS, and the assessor's database on them, etc.
Yeah.
So it's they're kind of the core of the network infrastructure. They're very old, so I want to refresh them. However, I think I can take those 3 and replace them with 2, but they'll be fairly high performance servers, and that's why they're going to be fairly expensive. So it's a little more expensive than a PC.
Okay, so I've got an understanding on the 14,425. I guess my first question is, why the idea behind a buy and not entertain a lease on a piece of equipment that essentially after 3-4 years is
Well, in the
dead?
case of a server, it's not. It's 7 years.
Okay.
In the case of a PC, it's not 3 or 4 years. It's 5 years, at least.
Okay.
The warranties, I can always get warranties for up to 5 years. And then, as I mentioned, I try to squeeze out another year. So with my approach, I end up with 6 years of PC, on average.
Yeah.
So I really haven't even considered leasing.
But
But it's a 6-year period, not a 3 or 4
Alright,
year.
but with a lease, right, you do a 4-year lease, you set it up on a schedule, which you got that mindset already, which is I can't go out and unload everything in 1 year because then I'm gonna screw myself. So let's set it up on a schedule. But on a lease, you're looking at, and I know every major organization goes with a lease on computer equipment.
Okay.
Right?
I mean,
I mean,
I'll look into that.
I would love for you to look into that. Is my gut is telling me that at $800 to $900 a computer, and you're saying for 6 years, I know you can do a lease for $15 a computer per year, and
really?
I'll put you in contact with a MIS guy in City of Loaf. Runs the Loaf.
15?
$15 per year per computer.
No.
Is that 'cause
On a
Lowell
state
has so many
contract.
computers?
I don't believe it.
On a state contract.
I don't believe it.
All right.
Yeah.
Either way, a lease.
$15 per year per computer? That's $60 for the 4 years.
Exactly. That's why
Okay.
I'm asking about a buy versus a lease.
Sure. I'd love to investigate.
Yeah.
So,
And then,
So you'll send me the,
yes.
all right, good. Good.
And it's through a state contract, right? So, I mean, there's also economies of scale there. So my other question is which ties in, and so library folks, I would love to have a better understanding of the utilization and usage of the 20 computers. How is that number determined? And some usage behind it. How does that play into, is there a number that's tied? I know there's certain aspects of your budget that are tied in with accreditation and things of that nature. So could you
Sure. We can
provide a
talk
little
about
update on that?
that. You want that now, or you want that?
If you don't mind, since we're in front of Gary. And so Julie, I recognize, I'm sorry, I know I'm jumping over you, but I would, while we're on the topic here, I wouldn't mind hearing from library on this.
The library computers were installed as part of the building program. So basically, we sort of did a study, and we went on the lowest end of the recommended sort of density of computer terminals within the library for the new library.
Yeah.
It's not related to accreditation, so there's nothing in any of our contracts that say you have to have so many things. It is a highly used resource, so what we talked about, sort of what we did, so the computers are used, we track that, so 32 times a week. If you go into the library, you basically almost always see somebody on one of the terminals in the library, so it's...
So the other 6 are just sitting there, waiting for someone to be used?
It's not like that, right? I mean, the number that I gave you is sort of an average, sort of, sometimes you have more, sometimes you have less. I can't our description of it.
meaning, I'm sorry.
Sometimes you go and you can't get a terminal, other times, sort of they're all...
So, but 32 times per week is per machine, or
no, that's total.
total? Okay.
All right, so it's
And
not tied to...
that's usage, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I'm still wrapping my head around that.
Sure.
But that's usage on the patron piece fees, the access?
Yes.
Okay.
How
And not,
many hours? Do you know how many
Public
hours?
access.
I don't have the
I don't
hours
have
in
it on
front of me.
No.
We
do you
can-
have the public access catalog usage? Like how many times people look up things on your catalogs
I
and
don't
those
have that.
pieces? That's okay, I was just wondering.
No, I don't believe that's tracked.
Okay.
But that is the only way that you find the book in the library, right? I mean, that's the computer is our card catalog. If we remember what those were.
And so of the 21, could you just, I know the numbers are getting thrown around before, of the 21 total computers, there's, is it 8 staff?
No.
3 staff, 3 circulation, 10 patron, and 5 personal access catalogs.
The 3 staff or 3 staff desktops, Kelly has a director level laptop, which will be, and there's 1 young adult laptop.
Had you guys ever, so the 21 was a function the shiny new library, and the 20, and now we're looking at having to replace 20, and Gary's come up with a game plan to replace over a staggered year.
Right.
At the time, had you guys ever entertained the utilization of grants for the purchase of laptops or computers within your library?
Basically, our recommendation at the time was to sort of keep the computers within the IT budget and not try and do that within the library. I'm not aware of any grants that the library
But
is available for.
You said the 20 laptops were a function of the library coming in on 2009.
We don't have 20 laptops.
No, no.
20 computers.
So, I mean, I want to be clear on exactly what we're talking about, right? So there are a number of computers which are for staff use, which are not for public use, right?
Mhm.
And the number that actually get used for public use is 8, so it's not 20, it's 8. That 8 is figured on,
It's 10.
is 10?
10.
10, okay, sorry, it's
Sorry.
10.
And that keys on.
10, and that's figured on, sort of how many, sort of workstations are used in a library that size, based on recommendations.
A recommendation of
Standards.
whom?
Standards,
National standards for building libraries.
we did that, again, as part of the construction.
And again, they had a range, and we took the low end of the range.
We took the lowest end of the range.
All right. So you had never entertained a grant on that?
No.
Have you guys subsequently looked at grants possibly?
I mean, we're not IT experts. Sort of Gary is our IT expert. I mean, and that was the prior guidance from the town, was that we wanted to look for economies of scale within the IT support for a centralized IT. So the answer is no, we haven't.
Okay. All right. Other questions?
So, I'm just gonna file over here your lease idea for a minute.
Fair enough.
I have a question for you, Gary, I think. You've identified critical operations
Yes.
and the updating of certain hardware to ensure that those PCs or laptops are maintained under a warranty and are fully serviced if they're within the 5 years. That's where your 3 circulation and 2 staff at $5,100 is coming. That's the logic there, right?
Yes. Purchase new PCs, get a new start and 5 years of extended warranties, get the latest software, and squeeze out hopefully another year after that. A total of 6 years.
I'm sorry.
What I try to do is I try to wait beyond the warranty period. Just try to.
So that
But that's not an official thing.
Right.
But what I found out is that over the past several years, I've been able to go beyond the extended warranties, take a little bit of a chance, and effectively get close to 6 years out of each PC.
Let's say you took the chance and it failed, for whatever reason the PC failed. What happens then? Somebody's down a PC in a critical operation.
Yep.
And so how does it affect timing? How does it affect cost, things like that?
Hallie, correct me if I'm wrong, the circ desk failed.
Yes, it failed.
And so that was out of warranty. That was one of the critical PCs.
Okay, so what happened
So
there?
I looked at it, did some diagnosis, and determined that it was likely a power supply problem. Did some more testing around that, got a higher confidence that it was. I grabbed one of the public access catalog PCs. I scavenged the power supply out of that and put it in the circ desk one. And
Okay,
then-
so in the lease option, we couldn't do that.
No, but what you could do is call up your lease company, I assume, and say, get another one over here right away.
Okay, all right.
So, I mean, if it's
Okay.
$15 and we get all that stuff covered, then I want to
At
buy
15 bucks a year, I would do it too.
my home computers.
Okay, all right. No, I'm just trying to, you know what I mean? Because I think,
Yeah.
it's important that what is critical stays current.
Right.
And that's what's on the plate here.
Right.
And so even though I think the discussion down the road for leasing, or maybe even leasing just the patron PCs or, something like that makes sense. For this year, I feel like this needs to get done.
Yeah, don't mistake my questioning for looking to take away this stuff. I'm looking to recognize this stuff, that it needs to be there. I was trying to get an understanding of how the number came to be for the library. That's all.
Okay.
And in the course of all this, I'm simply trying to find a way to give everyone the same stuff
At lower cost.
at a lower cost. That's my question. So,
you and
I will have this.
I feel a little delinquent that I haven't looked at this, so but I'm interested in doing this.
We'll further this. We'll further this.
But we're running behind.
We're running behind. So, as of right now, with Gary, 155. Line item 155. Any other questions? Or are you guys good on this?
The only change, the
repairs
from 1,400 back to
850, and I had equipment of 16,150, but everything in here is
Oh, you probably, that's an old one.
That's
Yeah, I updated that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're good.
We're good?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You and I will be in touch about
Yes.
leasing.
Exactly. Julie. How are you? Come on. I'm sorry for making you wait so long.
No problem.
How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
All right. Joe, Ted, this is our town accountant, Julie Costello.
Ted,
Hi.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Julie.
All right. So we're at line item 135. The salary and longevity, it is what it is, so we'll skip over that. And if you could walk us through the remaining items, that would be great.
Sure. Well, purchases services is for our OPEB evaluation, which is only done every 3 years. Therefore, we budgeted it in 15, and there's nothing budgeted or requested for 16. Software support is for the Vadar software. It's the accounting software that we use. Contract with them, it's annual maintenance, as well as upgrades and things like that they take care of. We also have it on the cloud, so that's the cost for that. The audit is the independent audit performed by George McKenna. Again, contract. Supplies are different supplies in the office, printer ink, toner, stuff like that, copier, folders,
Yep.
pens, pencils, all that fun stuff. Meetings is for the 2 meetings that I attend each year, one in March for the education to maintain my certification as a government accountant. And then there's another one in June, and that's basically it.
Okay. The purchase of service, the OPEB, so it was in last year. We punted to talk about it for this year. Are you on that committee with?
I am on that committee.
All right. So tell us more about that. Have you guys met?
We have not met.
Have not. And I guess so, with it budgeted in 15, but nothing was really done, but we're going to address it for
The
this year.
valuation was done. You guys didn't elect to put any money towards it, but
Yeah.
you have to get the valuation done every 3 years.
Oh,
So
okay.
it gets reported on your financial statements.
All right. I gotcha. All right. Question, guys? Anyone?
That was my question, was, so when you, the purchase of the OPEB, purchase of services, what kind of information comes out of that?
What our OPEB liability is.
Is that
So it's essentially an accounting.
$3,150?
Yeah, an actuarial study thing.
All right.
Takes
So it's like a
things.
report?
Yep.
Do we have access to that?
You do, yes.
Where?
I believe I provided you with the latest one last year, and we haven't performed the one for 15 yet, so.
Would you mind, that's a great, would you mind refreshing us and resending that to us?
Not a problem.
But when does the 1 in 15, does it get refreshed every year?
No, every 3 years.
Every 3 years, right, okay, so
That's
yes. No, I see, but I just wanted to make, I thought you said for 15, go for 15, right, we're in 16.
Right.
Thank you. All right, sorry. Yes, I would love a.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. If no other questions, I'm good. You guys? All right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
You guys ready for it?
Yes.
Get the hot seat.
Oh,
I'm staying behind.
I know. What
You
happened?
guys want to come up? With
No,
a cheering
please.
section. Feel free to move up.
You just said the hot seat, and you guys, it's like, please step forward, and it's like you guys all step backwards.
Right.
So just introductions here. I'm Bob Sack. I'm the chair of the library trustees. Lee Shanny and Pam Sikansky, my co-trustees, and Kelly Collins is the director. So what I have in a handout today, which I won't go over in detail, is just sort of a little bit about our operations, just to give you a sense of what we do in the library. We talked a little bit about the computer before. We circulate a ton of stuff. We've had about 41,000 visits to the library, during which time people check out 81,000 items. It's interesting now we're sort of tracking sort of a switch in the kind of items that are getting moved around. So in FY14, which is sort of the one that we have in the books, we've noticed a pretty big shift or growth in downloadable materials. So e-books, both audio and e-reader material. Books is actually are still popular. They're up slightly, 3.8%. The thing that's going down, and we're doing a little bit of a reorganization of our collection, is the videos. Videos are replacing DVDs, and that gives us new options, basically. So we're looking now at extending probably the e-collection to track the books there. Just a couple words. So in terms of the budget, sort of things that happened for the year that's completely finished. We're returning about $16,000 to the town treasury here. Most of that is in wages. So we budget every year for what we start with wages, and in some years we lose people, and in the time that we don't have people, we don't pay them. So in FY14, we accrued some savings in that. We accrued about $4,000 in ops. Most of that was in our CW Mars, which goes under purchase of services. We'll talk about that in a second. But every so often, CW Mars gets a grant that offsets what they charge the communities, and that goes back to the town. We budget for it, and if we don't spend it, it goes back to the town. So that was FY14. Just in terms of FY15, which we're in the middle of. So actually, in the middle of this year, FY15, working with our administrator and town treasurer, we actually got 3 of the library positions upgraded from level 2 to level 3. This includes our young adult and children's librarian's position, as well as a technical position. And we believe and we're got agreement as a group that was reflective of the responsibilities that those staff members have. And that went into effect in the middle of FY15, and it's built into the budget that you have tonight. Despite that, we still, just recently actually, have a new children's librarian. So 2 times in 4 years we've gone through a children's librarian. We're hoping that this latest, correct leveling of the job scale helps that. We're not sure that it is. It's a fairly competitive position out there. And so this is a thing that we're basically looking at, continuing to monitor and see if we can find some way to keep our highly visible, and for children especially, sort of the key to have some continuity, keep that in place. We talked about the IT plan. I don't think we're going to go with that. We do get feedback directly from patrons. This is in a way, computers so old. We've been in the library 5 years, and the library computers are now 5 years old. So we do get, that is an issue. That's sort of history. I do want to point out on the back, we do have other sources of funding besides the town. The Friends of the Library actually pitches in significantly, so they've contributed about $3,000 in museum passes. It's a popular program with our patrons, as well as $350 for Wowberry, which is a weekly e-newsletter with updates on the material available in the library, and a $300 movie license that we get for being able to, in order to show movies inside the library. We also have the state, based on performance, basically gives us an award. Last year was $6,000 an award, in FY14. We're basically committed to spending that in areas that we find strategically important. So if you look in the 2014 budget, for example, we added an AWE, which is a special workstation designed especially for the children's working area. We subscribed to the trial subscription to Mango Languages as a way of doing that. We improved our ability to basically process things, so the AccuCut die machine has to do with how we put labels on things. We put a lot of labels, and we were burning through some cheap machines pretty quickly. We did a technology upgrade with some Apple products, basically integrating an iPad Air into the children's activities so that we don't rely on people's iPods for music that we use all the time in that. As well as we spent money on an overhead projector for the program room, again, making it easier and more convenient to have programs. We also get labor from the strip program. And although this doesn't accrue in money, it accrues in lower staffing that we require as a result of that. And right now we have 3 seniors helping us out with various tasks in the library. So that brings us to FY16 and the budget, and I'm going to start out with a correction. Sorry, and I apologize for this. Is something that we caught just as we were reviewing the document. So if you look in the wages and salaries column, originally it said $253,550. That's incorrect. That was based on an incorrect accounting for our one of our librarians. The correct number should be $265,428. And that brings the total budget to $401,648.
41648.
Which is a 1%, about 1.1% up from last year.
Got it. So this sheet is
This sheet is not valid. Kelly will get us a corrected version of that. There's one line in here which is incorrect. We had 18 hours and we should have 32 hours. Sorry, it looked too good to be true. I know as I was looking through the numbers, I said, how come we be spending less than last year? Our basic strategy has been to basically level fund all the services where possible. I mentioned the CW Mars assessment. CW Mars is our network. We pay them an annual assessment, and they run our databases and computer system for us. There's been a slight increase in that this year, and again, that's just based on the fact that we have, based on our circulation.
It only went up, it looks like a very, very little bit.
It went up a very little bit. Yeah.
So did that $4,000 grant play into that at all?
No, we don't. That won't accrue until sort of they actually get the grant, because the grant is by no means guaranteed. It's just something that if
it hasn't come through yet.
At the point that we're spending FY16 and we get to FY16 and we're done, and CW Mars has found out that they have the grant, then that will come off of the money that won't be paid.
Won't be spent in that year.
Is that grant, does that fall into some of the other grants that have been attempted to be secured through the town, where due to the makeup of the town financially, is I don't want to say Bolton penalized, but I mean, is it, is there an income threshold where we are discounted from receiving a grant?
This is a federal grant program that CW Mars applies for on behalf of all of its, and applies to the membership fees for the smaller members. It has nothing to do with Bolton or Boxborough or any town.
So we're going in for the opportunity to receive money from that with the same leg up as a town,
It's not as a
say
town,
it's
it's a
Fall
network.
River.
It's
Yeah,
as
so
a
this
network.
is
So, right,
this is not
we're just
Bolton,
one of
this
them.
is not
CW
Bolton
Mars.
going in for this grant, this is CW Mars going in for the grant. and
Is it 4K
distributing-
for all
The
towns, or
CW
for all
Mars,
distribution?
CW at Mars has a formula that they use based
Okay.
on sort of library usage, and presumably it's similar to the formula they use for charging. So people who get charged more get more of the grant back.
I follow. But really, it's only $4,000.
It's only $4,000.
Okay, so that just puts it in perspective.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to get a sense of where if
That was a good question.
whatever grants were
Yeah, yeah.
available to you folks, if
Yeah.
it was a function of what we've been told by other organizations that it's.
The primary grant that we go after, and we were just discussing this, is a cultural grant. And those generally are small money amounts, less than $1,000.
Right, cultural council.
Cultural council, which we use for programs.
Yeah.
And that's been catch as catch can. Last couple of years, we've not caught. And we just had a discussion with that tonight.
It's been going down anyway, hasn't it?
Yeah, we're trying to figure out exactly what it is. Is it, sort of the, sort of pot is shrinking, and therefore, sort of our access to the pot is shrinking, or are we somehow not writing as compelling grant applications as we used to? So,
So I know the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, they do an awful lot around public libraries.
yeah, we
You
looked
guys-
a lot during again, sort of the construction time, and now we do actually get into the place where Bolton doesn't end up high, typically on the criteria list for those guys.
As Kelly would say, we're not in their demographic.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so back to where we are. We're not recommending changes to personnel or open hours in FY15, despite the fact that we continue to operate down a young adult position. If you asked us if the command was not level services, level funding, we would come back with a proposal to add about 10 more hours to our young adult. That's a demographic we need to want to serve, are unable to do, and haven't proposed it in this budget. We have included step increases for eligible staff, but not COLA per direction of Don. We spend a fair amount of money on energy. What we've budgeted for is ISO energy consumption. And so the same number of kilowatt hours that we consumed last year and the same number of BTUs as we consumed last year. Obviously, if the price per BTU or the price per kilowatt hour changes, that changes the budget. I'd spent a fair amount of time with Don to check out the electricity.
I remember you did a healthy, it wasn't an extensive search last year on that.
So, and in fact, last year was actually a case where the electricity came in significantly above what we were budgeting, and that was just based on the cost of electricity. Fortunately, we had a warm winter, and so we ended up neutral on utilities last year, but that was a stroke of luck, not
So
planning.
can you refresh my memory on the work that you did with Don last year and where if you happen to know where the town falls in, and are they purchasing a contract? Because we all know that all of our individual electricity bills are going up by 30-40%.
So you should definitely ask Don, because I've sort of looked at this sort of mostly on a tactical basis, which is do I need to come to advisory and ask for more money? I know that at the time Don was seeking a long-term contract. I think he, at the time that we were going through these sort of machinations, he had missed the time, and you can't tell that you could miss a time until after you've missed it, and sort of the market goes crazy. I know that we did receive back from Mint Energy a refund and I don't know the details of that, Don arranged a refund for money that the town had spent as partial compensation for whatever his ability or, so the lack of an opportunity to get a contract. But I would imagine.
He talked about it at the selectmen's meeting. I think he did lock it in, but I don't.
But given what's going on.
The number that we have in here for electric, which is 18,200, is based on a page and a half of analysis that I ran by Don and said, does this make sense? And he said yes.
And I remember that from last year, and so I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about where if this, with this increase coming through, if this is.
So what that factors in, so that's I looked at our usage, month by month, and I assumed that in the summer that electricity would be one price, and in the winter it would be substantially higher, and we came up with that number.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that with the formula and all the time that you spent last year, that they're going to be presented with a bill that's significantly higher. So that I'm just concerned about that.
It could
that's
be.
all. But it's that same concern that I have across every other department. With an electric line item. So that's all.
Right. We've done our best because it's so significant to sort of work with Don and try and do it. I think it would be great if the town had sort of town-wide advice that they could give.
Yeah, no, it was something that when I was looking over this and I saw that, I was trying to figure out, were you anticipating, them saying that it's going to go up by 30%?
So we are anticipating an increase.
And then it just led to me. So I had a note to on about the grade of town anyway, so.
Great.
Sorry to take out that.
No, that's
Can you speak to the propane?
Oh yeah, the good news is propane is we're at $2.59 a gallon, which I think is lower than we've had.
Is that based on Osterman, what they've told us?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no. Osterman doesn't commit, right?
No.
The data we have from Osterman is, sort of what the current data is, and sort of just looking at the fluctuation of propane relative to that. That could go up to. I profess no expertise in propane markets.
But it's made with natural gas and oil, so as those are coming down.
Yeah, you would think. I would
coming down.
Cross my fingers.
And.
But they won't be in a hurry to do that.
We've ended up doing pretty well switching from oil to propane, I have to say. Again, I claim no special insight to that. We have, as part of our overall budget, a substantial line item, about 17%, for books and materials. This is part of our accreditation. And we have some flexibility in that. In years past, we were at 19%. In a previous budget meeting during tough budget times, when we were cutting budgets across the town, we looked at ways to cut the library budget and agreed with advisory at the time that rather than cutting hours or cutting staffing, that it would go from 19% to around 17% in terms of staffing.
Would you mind just taking a moment to explain that the formula with the books on the accreditation? Just for the benefit of the individuals at home and then the two members, because this is one area that I've always gotten tripped up on, and I feel as though I finally remembered it. Right. And so if you wouldn't mind,
I'll do my best. Based on town size. With larger towns having a lower contribution requirement, and our accreditation, CW Mars, basically has a low, medium, and high recommendation for percentage of the operating budget, which needs to be spent on books and materials. And the goal here is sort of obvious. They don't want a library who's not actually providing library services. For a town under 5,000, which is where we were until very recently, the number was again sort of in the 19 to 20, it's 19% on the low end, sort of going up to 20-21%. As we crossed the threshold, that I believe that scale shifted down about 1%. So 18, 17, 16 as sort of the low, medium, high recommendation. Again, there is some flexibility in there. We, also part of the accreditation is the number of hours that you're open a week, where, again, serve the community, we're open many more hours than is absolutely required by the accreditation requirement. Our intention is not to end up on the border here. We basically size this number in order to hit sort of the low to medium side on the for the accreditation requirements.
Do you guys have any questions on that?
And yeah, there's a little bit of a algebra problem. The amount that you spend on books and material wants to be 17% of the total budget, including books and materials. Kelly and I always go through a spreadsheet exercise in order to get that number right. The number that we'll have, that we'll actually leave in here, is the 69,500 is before the correction to the wages that I mentioned earlier. And my recommendation is just to leave it there.
So-
17.9, which takes us down from 17.5 to 17.2%.
You follow that one?
So it would be from 17.5 to 17.2.
Yeah, it was 17.5% of the smaller budget, but 17.2% of the larger one.
All right.
And that's
Stash, any other questions?
Okay, give me 1 second.
sure.
So this, I would love to have this a day in advance.
Okay.
A couple more years at
Yeah, okay.
least. I appreciate all this information, and I feel like I haven't gotten a good chance to look at it. So I'm quickly
Our
comparing it
intention
to
is
last
to make it
year's.
valuable, so making it
Right,
available
right.
a day in advance helps. That's
No, I
that's in our
appreciate
interest.
that. So just give me one more second. It looks like you were up last year 1.7%, so you're actually down up a little bit more.
That's true.
That's primarily due to the position change in the
Yeah,
salary.
I was
Yeah.
just going to say, the reason that the wages ended up being up, I
Who's
forget
Sean leaving,
what the
right?
Title I, yeah, basically we've lost someone who's at step 3 and replaced them with someone who's at step 1.
Okay.
Which
So that
again, I can't
phenomenon
recommend as a
is-
strategy. That directly impacts, the kids come not to see the building, they come to see the librarian. And where's Shauna? Well, she doesn't work.
She was fantastic.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
was fantastic.
Exactly.
And it's worth pointing out that both of the children's librarians we lost, a big piece of why we lost them is because they were offered substantially more money for lower level positions.
Good point.
The market's getting more competitive.
And you have currently filled the position.
We have currently filled the position, that's correct. Actually, and we met earlier to move some money around to have that position in the time.
Yeah, we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But so there is a full-time
There is a full-time person in that as of
at a step
As
one.
of today?
Friday.
Friday. Thank you.
All right.
I'd like to do a little research on the price of propane. If I find out
Okay.
anything interesting, should I get back to you or to John
Sure.
Lowe, or
I think
what's the appropriate?
I guess I'm interested. It affects the number here, so I think it doesn't affect how much we use, which is sort of
Absolutely.
what we go in. So I think it would be of sort of a major interest to this group and to Don. And
I just want to make the
FYI, and I'll be happy to
to the right person.
Right now, I don't know that propane is actually that competitive with oil, but that could change any day.
It's changing the day. Actually, there was one other thing just while we're reading. So there was another piece of money which was actually the tail end of the building. So I said we've been in there for 5 years. We held back some money from the contractor because of things like painting that didn't get done, and we've had some issues. At the end of this fiscal year, we should have closed out all those issues. So we just finished some work actually this fall and the spring, painting some repairs to the AC. Looks like we're gonna do some replacement of ballast that have failed in the lighting system in the children's room.
Where's that coming from?
That's coming from the building budget.
Okay.
So we had some money, we have had some money in that account
That's right.
for the last time, and we expect not to at the end of this year.
That's good to know.
Julie, I know she's been.
No, I saw that though.
Did you
No,
know?
our intention there was not to hold on to it. Our intention was to make sure that we had an opportunity to sort of see all these things as they came up.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
actually, take a whack at the most important ones.
All right. If there's no other questions, I'm good with everything, so thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For taking time to come in.
No problem.
Thank you. All right, so,
This was good. This was good.
no,
We didn't get it, but we got the MIS
yeah,
one.
no, it is, these are, you're absolutely right, these are.
I knew it was coming.
They're tremendously helpful, and I feel as though
Thank you.
every.
I have one thing, I need to make you aware that the doors to the building are locked and you're in an open meeting.
So if someone knocks, you
So
should
no one
definitely
can-
knock.
No one can get in?
Why are
They
they
ended
locked?
up locked.
I-
It wasn't
I don't
locked when
know.
I came in.
Why did they lock?
I don't know. I
They
unlocked-
shouldn't be.
I
It said
unlocked-
to go upstairs, we went upstairs and that door was locked as well.
Oh, I'm
Well,
sorry you had to
everyone's,
go around
it's been
now.
successful so far. And,
People can make some noise, but
yeah, I'm confident they can figure it out.
Knock on the window.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm a little worried about that, having been a newspaper, the idea of messing
Right.
around with open meeting
Right,
laws is
and I
not
think
good.
you're the only one who has a key right
I
now.
don't have to walk up that.
So I can futz with that door if you want, but I don't have a key to do it.
Yeah.
I need the key.
Push the door.
Isn't there a key on that?
You can open it from, you
Oh,
can get
is
out,
there-
but they can't get in.
No, I know, but that's what you have to set that door with the key, but I think you're right, there might be, yeah, something over
Or
there.
am I thinking of another building?
I gotta check the code.
So,
Are we
so
doing-
we weren't the only group in here.
Right, no, I know.
And,
But somebody they just closed.
And everyone who we needed to see somehow magically found a way to get in here. So I'm not too concerned.
Are we, and that's the last on our
Exactly.
our list tonight.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't have, I mean, we talked about, the calendar. It's the only, question I have, and Ted, it's not to put you on the spot, but I'd love to hear if you've been able to make any headway or find out any information with the boiler situation in Sawyer and Emerson. Just as a side note, this all stemmed from, there was a selectmen's meeting of, well, we were all there.
Yes.
And so coming out of that selectmen's meeting, I heard some things from the school committee about the boiler. And you and I had an email exchange on, they were still waiting to decide and they were still looking into the boiler. And so we
My
had,
email exchange with you, though, was just my notes from the prior year, I think. That was,
yeah, and Ted had, asked me a couple questions, so, Ted was willing to take a look, especially his background in
Oh, yeah.
energy, was willing to, kind of lead the charge and see what information, and I just haven't been able
Yeah,
to circle
the
up.
first thing I need to do is have a meeting with the facilities manager there, so that I can understand kind of the scope and
Yeah,
what's on his mind, where he's going.
And that hasn't been
I've
able to
reached
take-
out several times, what is it, Bill
yes,
Cleary?
Cleary.
Yeah.
Oh, Cleary.
And haven't heard back from him, and I was waiting till after the holidays, so I
yeah,
will be in touch with him again on his voicemail. Anticipating what he might be doing, I have a spreadsheet that I've put together, and knowing the gallons of oil that we've consumed, I know that the gallons of propane that we would also consume. And I have talked to Osterman and gotten current prices of propane and some projections, but I don't remember the prices well enough to comment further this evening.
And that's fine, Ted. I was just...
The challenge is energy prices are coming down, and they're all not, some are leading and some are lagging. And if you were at steady state, I guarantee you could compare propane to oil, number 2, and propane would be more on a per million BTU basis. And assuming the same efficiency furnace, then the same amount of heat is going into the water or whatever, and the same amount of heat is being wasted up the chimney. That is an assumption that one has to check, so you got to be careful when you start going in those directions.
No,
but nevertheless, I need to meet with Bill.
Yeah.
Then see where he is, because I don't want to presume.
No, I agree, and we can always. I mean, the notes that you forwarded was great. I mean,
Well, that was great. He gave us a whole tour, and we got to see all these
that's
very old boilers. And you know, there was one of them, the older, I think it was the 70, see, I don't have my notes in front of me for Neshoba right now, but the district, but, so I'm going off of my brain as well, so forgive me, but the oldest boiler in Emerson, you walked into the room and it was, you know, hot, because there was so much loss, like you're saying, it was very inefficient. Anyway, we've had articles with monies allocated to replace the boilers in Emerson for a couple of years now.
Well, this is it. That's what kind of led to it.
And there was this whole, so Bill went into this, and I can appreciate he was doing the boiler, the oil boiler at Florence Sawyer was coming up on its end of life. And so there was this question, and then there was a grant, an MSBA potential, or some kind of funding that was also potentially in play. And so instead of going forward with the replacement of the boilers at Emerson, when we had the money, there was this kind of put on the brakes, reassess, make sure that we don't, or see if there was an opportunity to tap MSBA funds, and whether or not we should move the system to propane, which I think is where you're addressing with him.
But we need to have a meeting, or with him before we get to this stage, because you know, I need to understand how many installed spares do we have. You know, what is the normal life that he judges? I mean, I'm familiar with fire tube and water tube boilers, and you know, 50, 60 years you can get out of a boiler, and if a tube breaks, you plug it and you go on. And when your maintenance costs start going up, then you start.
I don't think we're trying to
So I don't know where we are in that whole scheme.
My understanding from Bill's email was that there was, while he had gone down that road, he had come back from that. I think his wording was something to the effect of based on the current propane costs, or you know, the fact that there wasn't that savings, or that idea of efficiency. I'm not quite sure all of the rationale there to go to propane. He was backing off from that and saying, let's just apples to apples get this done and change this, you know, update the system and get the efficiency up and the system.
And if I were to give an instantaneous answer, I would probably say I agree with that, but I need to understand everything. And then we need to be able to answer the question. And what I'm led to believe is Neshoba Regional High School has kind of looked at the same thing, and they're coming to a different conclusion. But I don't want to, I shouldn't even be saying this on the record because I don't have the facts.
Yeah, and I'm not, the facts. I don't think we're looking to serve, you know, Bill's knowledge and expertise in this particular area, but we're just trying to get a better understanding, because we are now, it's either the second or potentially the third heating season we are now in, where I want to say it's the second, but the bottom line of the original presentation was this was a critical need, and...
But if he has a lot of installed spares, it's not as big.
But my point, the money's already been doled out, right? And so, and then we came back, and to your point, Sasha, then there was money set aside for some grant to study it. And I'm done studying it. I'm done waiting. I'd like some action.
And that's where my question to you is that.
Action costs is equates to money.
No,
Well, we've already paid the taxes for it
Yeah.
a long time ago.
So,
Don't even get me started.
yeah, so Ted, no, I
I will double
love
my
that.
effort to, in fact, I can just walk over there and meet him.
He's a nice guy,
Yeah.
and you should get the tour, because it is,
Sure.
you'll.
I just want to soak up what he has to say.
Exactly, and that's really all I was asking, because I would just like to get a better understanding of the rationale of what's going on, but I would also like to hear the movement moving forward.
Yeah.
And if-
In a
But we have to be very
Rational.
careful choosing a fuel when we're not at steady state.
Oh, yeah, I
These
don't-
things are coming.
I think it's a crazy assumption to be looking at present fuel prices. I mean, it's
Right.
like anything else,
I
you
mean,
know?
historically,
The investment world, you don't take a look at the present rate of return, the market killed it last year. You take a look at a historical average. So I could care less what the present price of propane, oil, or whatever energy they're entertaining using. I would like a legit, thorough analysis based upon some sound criteria, and not looking at, current prices. So yeah, anything else that you guys had on
Is
your mind?
anybody going to the Tri-Town meeting tomorrow?
oh, that's tomorrow.
Oh,
Yeah,
I wish I
thank
could.
you. I know.
I will.
Given the lineup of topics,
It's mostly school.
yeah, I would-
Loaded.
Like all
It's a
school.
loaded
It
meeting.
usually is
Yeah, I
mostly
would
school.
guess.
That's
Will you be
the
there,
idea.
Will you be there?
Presently, I plan to, yes.
Double header.
We
Us and
can
them.
we can learn a lot.
Two.
right?
Possibly
That-
triple header.
No, that's right, with the selectmen on
And
busy
maybe
week.
a Baker's inaugural instead, I haven't decided.
You can see it on, if you
yeah,
miss it, guys, if you can't make it, I can't make it, so I will be watching it
yeah. No, I
online afterwards.
would really like. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to. So.
Is that the building in the fork of the road? So you
Yes,
park at
isn't it?
park at the town hall and kind of walk across
No,
the street?
I honestly don't know.
It's that town building, you go almost, I think, to Route
62.
But
Almost.
no, that's in Maynard, isn't it?
No, it's,
You go almost to the route
The
that
route that
goes
goes
to
into Hudson.
to the golf course.
right.
And just right before the route that goes to the golf course, to Stowe Acres, there's a driveway into the town building.
On the right.
Yeah, on the right.
Oh,
And
They
yes,
call
to
it
answer your
the-
question.
And I think they
There's the
call
fork,
it the town building.
Town
the
hall.
town building.
And then there's,
Yeah.
Where the town
Parking.
clerk is and everybody?
Yes.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
I've been there many times. Okay.
that promises to be a spirited meeting.
I would think so. All right. If nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
Great.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is done. Thank you very much.